What's up, guys? Let me just check the stream is working. Seems like it is. Okay, so yeah, it's been quite a while since I last did any live streaming, and there's various different reasons for that. Like everything else, I think it's a habit. So if you get out of the habit, it becomes a process of pushing the boulder down the hill, getting the boulder started, and once it's rolling, it's easy, and you kind of get out of that habit of having it rolling. It becomes more difficult. The other big reason is I'm actually moving to Australia in December, so as you can imagine, that's a lot of work. And a lot of things to try and work out. So yeah, it's just meant that it's been a little bit difficult to get into the habit of live streaming. But I've just felt recently that I've been missing a kind of lacking a bit of a connection, and so I felt like I really needed to get back into it. Something that's been kind of nagging away at me to start again. So I thought I would just lower the bar and do something kind of quite simple today, and just look at some compression stuff. I'm working on the mix down at the moment, and I just thought I'd just go through how I'd approach compressing the track. So I'll give you a blast the track and just make sure we're getting audio coming through. So it's a track that I'm working on that I'm going to release in the not too distant future. Yeah, so it's a little kind of soulful kind of roller. So I'm kind of midway through the mix down. It kind of sounds a bit harsh actually, but I think that's some of the mastering plugins I've got on there just to try and get it up. I've got some kind of digital EQs, probably doing a little bit too much really than I would ordinarily want, and I'm probably pushing the loudness a little bit too much just to make sure that I can get it into a decent range. So what I've done so far is I've made things mono, I've made things more stereo, I've EQ'd things, filtered out basically tops and bottoms where applicable, and I've got a bit of compression on the drum bus here. Let me know if you've got any questions as I'm going through. So this is just some overall bus compression, basically working on all of the drums going through. So what I kind of tried to do with this, I've got an attack time of 15 milliseconds. So what the compressor's doing is kind of clamping down on the transients after 15 milliseconds, and it's holding them in place for 250 milliseconds. And if we look at this Music Math app, which I use kind of pretty religiously when I'm mixing, so 120 beats per minute, 120 beats per minute, so 250 is an eighth note. So the compressor's basically pumping as the drums fall below the threshold. We're kind of the compression's coming in and out at an eighth note rhythm, which gives you a kind of nice rhythmic quality to the drums. So the next stage of what I do here, once I set it, so I've kind of set it, this is the last session, I put it on the bus of the whole drums just to get a feel of what I thought would work. Then I actually bypass this and I come to each individual drum and I basically apply the compressor individually to each channel, which means I get every single drum component with the same basic settings on it. So this is the kick, this is the low kick. So let's just solo this, and so we're looking for about a dB of compression here. And you can see this pumping rhythm here is an eighth note rhythm basically, which can give you quite a nice rhythmic quality. So next part along, Now this is going to differ depending on the level, you see. So this has got a lot lower level coming in. I haven't really gain staged this track properly, just because obviously with the big move coming up, I've got to be quite pragmatic about how I spend my time. So the kind of if I had the luxury of lots of time, I would gain stage everything and do all that kind of thing. But as I said, I kind of need to keep music coming out and not spend as long, because I've got a lot of other things to do. So let's just say so. Yeah, we're looking for about a dB on this compressor. We can actually set a range to be a dB, so it won't really go over that, which is super useful actually. Okay, so that's the clap sound. What's this? Take me extra drums. Wow, this is super quiet. So this is the problem with not gain staging, because you get stupid waveforms like this that are tiny. And there's a click on there as well, which is always good. So for this one, obviously we've got such a low level, so I could drive the input in a little bit to get the level up, and then just take the level down a bit. So I'm looking for consistent compression across the board. Yeah, so I don't want to have kind of 10 dB on one sound, 1 dB on the other. That's not going to work. Now for this, just what I hate having little clicks in there, even though you probably don't even notice that in the mix. I use a nice plugin called D-Click, called RX7. Sorry, it's not called D-Click. This is one of the modules within it. So that's what it's getting rid of. It's just a quick way of doing it, really. As I said, you probably won't even notice that in the mix, but it just makes me sleep better at night. Okay, so next sound along. So this one. Now, actually, let me take this compressor off and use one of the original ones that didn't have that gain boost on it. So again, once it gets to about a dB, then I don't worry too much about what the threshold is or what the ratio is. I just want a dB of gain reduction. Obviously, it does matter where the threshold is, but I think I started this track on a live stream many moons ago, and I just haven't got around to finishing it, which is kind of the problem when you come up with loads of ideas. You've got to remember to actually get them finished. There's another little loop. So there's that relationship between the threshold and the ratio, which give us the amount of gain reduction that we want. That's tambourine loop. There you go. Now I've got some chimes here. Where are they? I actually recorded these downstairs. I've got a nice kind of dining room, which has got nice acoustics to it. But say for this sound, for the chimes, these don't need to really. These aren't. They kind of are drums, but they're also kind of effects almost as well. It's acting like an effect. So this one, I could set the release to be 500 milliseconds, which is going to push it back a little bit, and the attack is 1 millisecond. So it's going to really hold it in place. So it's not going to be as prominent as the other drums. It's going to sit behind a little bit. So I could even make the release 1,000 milliseconds or a second. Just going to push it back a little bit. So if I take that off, notice how that feels further away. Just psychoacoustics, binaural cues. It's just the way that we hear. Transients mean things are closer to us. So, so without that compressor on the chimes, it's closer. And with the compressor on, it's ever so slightly, subtly further away. And all these little tiny things are going to add up. So there's no real reverb on this track other than sounds that just have reverb bounced in. So, you know, it's kind of mid mix. Okay, let me just copy this setting, paste it into here. So this is the hat. Kind of a 909. This is like Latin percussion-y stuff. No, I'll leave it. I was going to push that back, but actually it's quite it's kind of with the other drums. I thought it was a bit more affected, but it's not. Okay, we got this mega jam. That's the bass. I've gone too far. Cool. So I put all these plugins on the same track in Logic. I don't know how other DAWs kind of deal with this, but it just means I can bypass them all simultaneously, which I find really useful because I can make sure that I'm not ruining the track basically. So let's this is going to be subtle, but we should hear the drums be a little bit more unified and hopefully be held back a little bit, so some of the other elements feel a little bit more prominent, I guess. So with the compression out, the drums are closer to us, but it feels a little bit more, it just feels to me a little bit more sloppy. It's kind of like smeared, everything's just kind of slapped on there. Whereas with it held in place like that, it's like focus on the bass, focus on the lead part. Okay, and now listen to them now. So notice how the lead part, when the compression's in, is not fighting with the drums as much for position, because the lead's now further forward and the drums are a little bit set back in comparison. So once again, set back a bit. The drums are forward, but it's a little bit more sloppy, more kind of confusing. That's more listenable. Okay, cool. So this is the bass line. Now I've probably bounced this with compression on. It kind of feels pretty good, the bass line, but let's just try it with the same settings of the drums to see what happens. Yeah, I think actually that sounds quite nice. I might try a 1 second attack and a 500 milliseconds release, which is going to hold the bass line a little bit more in place. This is the bypass down here, by the way. I think I quite like that actually. Just to let you know, I've got a wet gain on here, a makeup gain, which is really important because I'm compressing by dB. I don't want to change the level, otherwise it'll ruin things for me. So I've got that that gain increase on there as well. Cool. So here we go. We've got some other sounds. Sorry. So we've got some other bits here. So now I can decide where I want each sound to be placed in the front back perspective. So this delayed loop sound, I quite like having these little ear candy sounds kind of quite prominent. So I'm going to put it onto a hard knee. In fact, let me just check that I've done that with the drums. Yes, I have. So the drums have got a hard knee as well, which is good because it's more responsive like that. Doesn't always have to be that way, but in fact, let me just copy the setting in for the. Oh, that was a mistake. Okay, let me just come to a preset here. Drum compression. Take. Okay, that just means I've got it. Yeah, kind of dialed in a bit. So attack 30 milliseconds lets the transient come through. Release 30 milliseconds means that it's going to be really fast and really it's just basically going to shake up the audio of that part essentially. I've got it on a pumping setting here, which is quite good. So let's try it in and out. More prominent. Yeah, I think I like that. Now this is the keys part. Now I'm going to just, what am I doing? Let's just copy and paste that drum setting again. So the keys, again, it could be held in place, could be brought forward a bit. Opto's great for keys, good for bass as well. In fact, let's just change that bass setting to be an opto compressor as well. Actually, I'm going to leave that on clean because I think I've already compressed it with the LA2A emulation, so maybe it's a little bit overkill. But let's try with the keys. Now there's a heart part here which plays quite prominently. Let's see what we could do with this. So I might try this with the bringing it out setting. So slow attack, fast release. But then what I've got to be careful of is I've got that lead sound, which is kind of the focus. So what I might try doing is literally the opposite. So fast attack, slow release is going to hold this in place, and let's put it onto an opto setting. We've got a piano sound here. I might tie this in with the keys, so same kind of setting as that we have for the keys. Loud. this. Okay, so let me just go back here. I want to just look at the lead sound. So this needs to be a prominent sound because it's kind of dealing with the lead aspect of things. So I'm going to come up to one of my presets here, attack 30, release 30. So see if you can hear this come forward a bit. Back. Forward. Now I don't have to have the relief so far. I could maybe have 1, 2, 5, which I think is going to be a 16th note. 16th note, so it's going to be pumping at a 16th note. Yeah, I like that. Now the guitars I want to be kind of front and center as well, so I might try the same setting for the guitars. Same for the flute, although compression on the flute doesn't always end well. Let's have a look. Let's try it on this classic setting, it's like an SSL kind of setting. Not too much. Okay, let's try the clean setting. Yeah, I think I like that. Right, let me just look at the guitar parts here, see if I need any. Yeah. In fact, you know what, these guitars probably need to be consolidated because they're really doing the same thing. +1. So let's just bounce these down. Main, let's call it that. Always trying to limit and try and reduce the number of tracks all the time, wherever possible. Kind of reduce the cognitive load. Okay, so let's just color this. Kind of do that one. Guitars main. This is guitars 2. I've got this sample here, which is the holding on to a memory. That bit, and it's got like it says some other stuff as well. This is the old school sample, and I try and tend to avoid doing too much to it, try and keep it as natural as possible, but I might try just adding some compression to bring it a bit more front and center. So again, slow attack, fast release. Let's see what it does to a sample. Holding on to a memory. Just take it off. Yeah, I think that works. Kind of brings it out a little bit. So let's just make some quick decisions here. So this is a piano effects. So this can have, 1 millisecond, 500 millisecond release, because it's going to be, generally I'm going to want to push that back a little bit. So let's find, here it is. Oh yeah, it's the sound. Okay, so 80s effects. Okay, so delayed loop 2, I'm going to give the same settings as delayed loop 1. Let's just check it is actually the same kind of sound. All right, so this is the moment of truth. We should hear the mix kind of open up a little bit and have more front back perspective when I bring all these compressors in and out. Yeah, so without the compression, it's much more flat. It kind of sounds like a load of tracks just kind of playing. Whereas with the compression into me, it feels like there's layers. So it feels like there's things that are further forward, things that are a bit further back, things that are much further back. And this also ties in with what I've done with the stereo width. So anything I want to be further away, I've made more mono. Anything I want to be closer is going to be wider. I've done it with the same with the filtering. So anything I want to be closer has got more frequencies, less filtering. Anything that's going to be further back has got more filtering. And then the compression's allowing me to bring that out further, so there's much more front back perspective. So actually we could probably just do a little test like this. This is going to be all three processes. So stereo width, EQ and compression. So I'd say it's kind of subtly more open, more front back perspective, more separation between the elements. And the things with compression, I think people get very confused with compression. And what I try and always work on is this principle of having like a strategy, because when you've got a strategy and a framework, it's not just, just randomly kind of stabbing in the dark trying to get it right. It's like, well, this sound needs to be forward, slow attack, fast release. This sound needs to be further back, fast attack, long release. Keep the release times rhythmic. You can keep the attack times rhythmic as well, but release times especially, so it pumps in time with the track, and you'll get this nice coherent compression. And then when we come to do bus processing, which I haven't started doing yet, we can just tie in the same kind of sound, so all the sounds are unified together and have this nice kind of groove work into them. So that's what I'm going to do today. I've got some other things I need to get on with, so it's just going to be a kind of reasonably short one. But it's been nice to get back into doing some live streaming. I hope all you guys that have been tuning in have enjoyed me taking you through that little bit of compression, and I'll do some more on this track later on in the week, and hopefully I'll jump on. I'm going to try and get back into doing daily live streaming, as I said, because I feel like it's important. Yeah, because it can be a little bit lonely in the studio on your own sometimes, so it's nice to have a bit of a wider connection in real time. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and hopefully I'll be back tomorrow. All right, nice one.